Welcome back to another Sunday School Bible class. This week's lesson is entitled, Joseph Forgives His Brothers. In our last lesson, we had seen how Joseph, who was governor over all Egypt, had the final say on who would be able to buy food during the terrible famine. When his older brothers came to Egypt to buy food, they did not recognize him, but he recognized them and spoke roughly to them through a translator. In an effort to see whether his brothers had taken care of Benjamin and anxious to see his younger brother Benjamin, he commanded that one of the brothers be kept in Egypt while the other brothers went home with food and come back to Egypt with their younger brother Benjamin. Months later, when they returned with Benjamin, Joseph, still hiding his identity, got very emotional and cried in a secret place so they would not see. He then commanded the servants to fill their sacks with grain and secretly put his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. In this week's lesson, we're going to find out if Joseph ever told his brothers who he was, if Joseph got even with his brothers for what they did to him, and if Joseph saw his father Jacob again. When all the brothers left the palace, the guards overtook them and accused them of stealing the governor's silver cup. And of course, the brothers were quite surprised, not knowing what the guards were talking about. The guards searched each brother's sack, and at last, the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. When the cup was found in Benjamin's sack, the brothers were shocked and could not believe what was happening to them. They were all taken back to the palace. Joseph, as the governor, still in disguise, commanded that Benjamin would be his slave for the rest of his life. The brothers begged Joseph to let Benjamin go free and offered themselves as slaves instead of Benjamin. They told the governor that Benjamin was the youngest son of their old father Jacob, and that if anything had happened to Benjamin, their old father would die. Joseph knew that his brothers were indeed sorry for what they had done years ago and for all the sorrow that they caused their father. He knew that they had truly changed, that they did care about their father and their brother Benjamin, and that they were tired of being mean and nasty and jealous and greedy. Their attitude had changed and they wanted to make things right. Joseph knew that it was time to tell his brothers who he was. Then Joseph told all the guards to leave the room. Joseph's brothers were now very frightened because they did not know what he was going to do next. Joseph had waited for this moment for so long because he had wanted so badly to forgive, help, and hug his brothers and see his father so that they could all be one family again. Joseph could not contain himself anymore. He began to cry as he told them that he was Joseph, their brother, whom they had sold into slavery years ago. Joseph's brothers were stunned and shocked and scared. They thought that Joseph would now get even with them for what they had done to him over 22 years ago. Joseph told them not to worry about what they had done because God had used him in Egypt to save many people from dying of starvation and save their lives as well. He told them that even though they meant to do him evil, God used it for good. Of course, the first person to run to Joseph and hug Joseph was Benjamin, because Joseph and Benjamin had always been close when they were very young. The older brothers watched as Joseph hugged Benjamin. They thought that although Joseph was not going to punish them, surely he would not hug them and love them like he did Benjamin. But to their surprise, Joseph was able to forgive his brothers and love them as much as he loved Benjamin. When the brothers realized that Joseph forgave them and loved them, the act of forgiveness was complete, and they were able to rejoice and love each other. They were no longer fearful, bitter, or guilty, and the entire family was stronger. Then Joseph told them that he wanted them to go back to Egypt and bring Jacob, their father, and all of their families into the land of Egypt to live with him, and he would take care of them. The brothers went back to the land of Canaan and told their father Jacob that Joseph, his son, was alive, and that he was the governor of Egypt. They told Jacob that Joseph wanted him and all of their families to come to Egypt because he was going to take care of them. At first, Jacob did not believe it, but then when he saw the carriages for him from Egypt, he knew that it was true. Then Jacob offered sacrifice to God, and God spoke to Jacob and told him to go to Egypt and see his son with all their families, for they shall stay in Egypt many years and become a mighty nation, and then God will bring them back again into the land of Canaan someday. So Jacob knew that all this time God had not let him down, but indeed had taken care of him and all his sons, even Joseph. Jacob and all of the family, with their children and grandchildren, about 70 in all, went to Egypt. When Jacob saw Joseph, his son that he had not seen for over 22 years, he hugged him, and Joseph told his father how God had made him governor of Egypt and that he was going to take care of all of them. So Jacob lived to see his son Joseph and Joseph's 2 children. So he saw Joseph's children in Egypt, and he lived many, many more years until he died in Egypt. The family of Jacob, with all of their children and grandchildren, would multiply in the land of Egypt for hundreds of years until there were over 1 million of them. In upcoming lessons, we will see what happens to them when a new king arises many years later. See you later. Bye-bye.